Hello, I'm Ginkgo Sequoia and I'm the author of the book The Tree Mystic. Today's extract from the book is about the Garden of Eden. It's with Solly the Tree Mystic and Bruno, one of the volunteers. Solly was lying down under a coconut tree when Bruno ambled over. Solly, I need some advice. Since my afternoon of passion in the greenhouse with Ling, the bubbles in our relationship seem to have gone a little bit flat. I don't seem to have many tunes in my repertoire. Solly sat up. Improving your technique is the easy bit. Dealing with jealousy and getting your bubbles back requires a little bit more explanation. They say that it all started in the Garden of Eden. Why do you think that Adam and Eve had to put their clothes back on? I heard that after taking a bite of the apple, Adam and Eve were ashamed of their nakedness and had to cover up. You might be right, but you might be wrong. Perhaps it wasn't because they ate the apple. Perhaps it was how they ate the apple. What do you mean? To be passionate about any activity, including sex, we need to discover and crystallize exactly what moves us emotionally. This is the source of the fountain of joy. Then we must remove any obstacles that keep it from flowing. What are the obstacles? Guilt, lack of self-love, fear of rejection, and the absence of devotion are all things that will turn your passion taps off. This will reduce your ecstasy to a foot and a dribble. However, being spiritual will make you more loving and purify your heart. Ironically, it will also dissolve your inhibitions. It will point your passions in the direction of God and shared joy and take you down the path of spiritual ecstasy. Bruno coughed. He didn't recall any sermons in his church on the subject of spiritual ecstasy. Solly continued. Treat sex like spiritual food, as something sacred, not as something sinful. Be mindful of all your loving acts, the preparation, the activities, and all the celebrations afterwards. Your house should be a temple of love. Make your bedroom into a spiritual place, not a place for watching television or hanging your clothes. Take your time with your preparations. A sacred feast is not to be hurried, it is to be meditated over. Prepare a spiritual environment. Usher in some silence before you put the music on. Light some candles, not just for romance, but to remind yourself of the sanctity of what is about to take place. Diffuse some fragrant oils before you do your feeling and tasting. Just as in the temple, engage with all the five senses mindfully so that your arousal and ecstasy can go beyond sensory pleasure. Be devotional, consecrate and offer the fruits of your love to God before indulging and taking any yourself. Show your gratitude. Share your joy. It is not just for you, it is to be celebrated. Bruno remained silent for a while before eventually asking, what does all that mean? Prepare yourself spiritually before taking the fruits from the tree. Then the fruit is yours to eat. Perhaps this is what Adam and Eve neglected to do. Perhaps this was the original sin. Bruno's spiritual education did not extend to devotional offerings, only to harvest festivals and pre-dinner prayers. However, he still felt obliged to defend the sanctity of marriage as it had been taught to him. Some people say that eating the apple implied that Adam and Eve had sinned by making love before they were married. After that, they became aware of good and evil. Solly turned his head from side to side. That is not my understanding. I heard that they were told that they could enjoy all the fruits in the garden except those from the tree of knowledge. This implies that you can take a bite out of all the orchard's fruits. You can enjoy the oranges, the plums and the pears. You are not denied the sharpness of the damson just because you have savoured the sweetness of the pear. I don't think that there was any mention of how many you could sample or take away with you. Remember, the 10 Commandments asks that you do not covet your neighbour's wife. There is no mention of how many women you can covet if they are not married to someone else. Whichever ones I want and as many as I want. Really? Is that your interpretation, Solly? Not exactly. You can only take the ripe and willing ones. You must be spiritual, which means you would be loving and considerate. If the joy is not a shared joy, it would not be spiritual. There's part 2 of that subject, and hopefully you'll listen or watch that. But for now, that's all. You can buy the book and read what I've just said. It's available on Amazon or thetreemystic.com. Thank you for listening and watching.